To the KDPG Sunday edition. Our guest this morning is Congressman Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District. He is a Republican. That district also includes, of course, Butler County. We've talked about the Iran deal. Another issue that has all of a sudden this past week come to the fore is what is described by Planned Parenthood as a highly edited tape conversation between one of their executives and someone else sitting at a restaurant while the Planned Parenthood person drank wine and ate a salad and talked about the issues pertaining to what happens to a fetus after it is aborted. You are outraged by this.
Oh, I think it's stunning. And again, the inhumanity of it, the fact that people would sit down over a nice glass of wine and a salad and talk about parts of unborn children. And this is a doctor, do no harm, and her take is that we got to place the forceps in the right place so that we don't damage any of these parts that we could possibly sell. When I watched that, I thought about the times that I sat down, I'm an automobile dealer, as you know, and sat down with our parts people to talk about what we should stock and how fast it was turning, and the fact that how do we get it logistically, how do we get it from where we have it to where it needs to be. And when you hear this girl talk about this doctor over a nice lunch and talk about how they get these body parts and are able to sell them and ship them out to different places, I thought, my God, is this really where we've become? And we can turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the cries of these little boys and girls who are being used for parts? This is incredible. This is almost like something out of a sci-fi movie. It's stunning.
Planned Parenthood says it is selling these parts for a profit.
Well, it's highly edited because when the truth gets out, it was never the whole truth. That was only the bad part. You know what, I got to tell you, whether it's highly edited or not, the fact that they would have that conversation so cold, so calculating, just like people were talking about parts on a parts shelf, we're talking about unborn little boys and little girls and saying we can use them for parts and they have a dollar value. So they're not doing it for profit, then why are they doing it? For the good of their heart? Because if it's really an affair of the heart with them, then I would say they need to see somebody really soon and find out how they got so far off track. We are talking about the unborn, little boys and little girls, and we're using their parts for something else. And then it's just incredible, Stacey, that people would sit down over lunch and have that conversation and walk away and say, well, I'll get back to you later. Let me know what you need. I'll put it on the list.
Well, it sounds like you have a big problem with the whole industry of normalization of abortion. Is that just with legalized abortion?
I don't want to be disrespectful. When you talk about a respectful conversation or using the right terminology, we're talking about ending the life of an unborn little boy or little girl. So we can wordsmith it any once. We can buff the edges. We can make it sound like something it isn't. We're talking about human life. Human life in its most protected form, that is in the womb of the mother. There's a reason for that. That was designed that way. That didn't happen by chance. These are little boys and little girls that are being torn apart.
Are you against legalized abortion? I mean,
I'm a pro-life. I am unabashedly pro-life.
Okay.
And I would hope that when pro-choice comes, people are choosing now life more than anything else. The pro-choice people are seeing it a little different way.
Now, you are supporting, I think at least 3 different congressional committees are going to be launching investigations into this situation with Planned Parenthood. What do you feel will be the outcome of this? Do you want Planned Parenthood defunded? Is that your ultimate goal?
I think overwhelmingly, Stacey, when you look at the American taxpayers, they don't want their dollars being used this way. Every single dollar that the federal government spends comes out of a taxpayer's pocket. And I think the people that supply the revenue, the people that pay the taxes, should actually have a say in how that comes. I think the American people are a very moral people. They look at this, they recoil in horror to what's been going on and say, my God, this isn't what they told us. They told us this was about women's health. They told us that this was something that we should be doing. I think when you look at Planned Parenthood, actions speak much louder than words. And when you see what's going on, whether it's Dr. Gosnell in Philadelphia or what we just saw the other day in this clip over a nice lunch, somebody has to look at that and say, this just isn't right. This isn't who we are.
Perhaps because it were the people and how they phrased things, or how they just basically how they stated it. This has not been a good issue as far as abortion goes recently for the Republican Party.
Well, I don't know. When we talk about abortion, I think what we talk about is life.
And I think 2 senatorial candidates.
Well, and I know that, and I know that we're always looking for somebody to misstep a little bit. I think that we look into people's hearts, into people's conscience, and say, is this really who we are? from where I've been my whole life, I get a little bit turned off when somebody says, oh, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what she said? She kind of stuttered a little bit. She kind of stumbled a little bit. This is not the person for me in my lifetime. And now at 67 years old, I have a much clearer view after having lived life, watching my children be born, saying goodbye to my mother, my father, and my sister. I have a much deeper appreciation for life and knowing that we're always one heartbeat and one breath from not being here. And I think that the time that we have here needs to be spent effectively. Defending life is going to be something I always do. And if somebody's going to worry about the way you say it, I said, please, let's not get all caught up over the words. Let's get caught up